remember in class I taught you to do this by the grid method. So we write the first bracket out, and then we write the second. And in each box it shows us what we want to multiply. So 5w times 3w, 5 times 3 is 15, and w times w is w squared. This box, 5w times minus 7, so minus 35. Then we have 3 times minus 8, and then minus 7 times minus 8, which is plus 56. So we have 15w squared minus 35w minus 24w plus 56. And if you can't do minus 35 take away 24 in your head, then on your calculator type in minus 35 take away 24. But that gives us 15w squared minus 59w plus 56. Question 2. Question 2 was very hard. I think it should have been at the end of the paper. I'd have put that as quite a hard GCSE question. And what you actually have to do in this is consider the numerators, 1, 2, 3. So it's going up in ones. So our nth term is 1n plus, and what went before, 0. We then repeat that for the denominators, 2, 3, 4. Again, going up in ones. So 1n, and what went before, we had plus 1. So our numerator was n, and our denominator was n plus 1. So Marie gets a basic monthly salary of £560, plus a commission of 22% of her sales. So she gets £560. Plus 22%, so 22 over 100 of her sales. I'm going to use X here, or we'll write in the word sales. And that had to be 3,299. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take away 560. So 3,299 take away 560 tells us that 22% of the sales is 2,739, which means her sales will be 2,739 divided by 0.22. And that gives us an answer of 12,450. So we have 123 planes departing and 46 were late. So write that as a percentage. Well, first of all, we're going to write it as a fraction, 46 over 123. And to change a fraction into a percentage, we multiply by 100. So if I type that into my calculator, we get an answer of 37.39, and we were told an answer to one decimal place, so that's 37.4. In this question, you need to be really careful with units. £5 and pence. So the first thing you've got to do is change that to 500. So 500 pence equals the 3 grapefruits, which cost G pence each, and the 4 mangoes, which cost M pence each. Got to remember when we're expanding, M times M is M squared, M times 8 is 8M. Dealing with fractions, we always want to have a common denominator, so 5 times 8 is 40. So if I think of the first fraction, the denominator is 5. What have I multiplied it by to get 40? I've multiplied by 8. So we have 8b. Second fraction, the denominator is 8. What have I multiplied that by? It's 5. And 8 take away 5 is 3. So 3b over 40. So there's two ways to do this. First way to do it would be to say that the sum of the angles in a parallelogram is 360. 4x, 3x is 7x, 9x, 12x. So 12x and 35 take away 23 is 12, is 360. 360 take away 12 is 348, so x would be 348 divided by 12, which is 29. Alternatively, you could have spotted it's a parallelogram. Well, that means that these two angles are equal. So 4x minus 23 equals 2x plus 35. Bring the 2x. Bring the minus 23. And that gives us that 2x equals 58. And 58 divided by 2 is 29. So 20% off means you're paying 80%. So we want to work out 80% of 129. So that would be 0.8 times 129. And that gives us £103.20. Be really careful here. Make sure you put in the 2 decimal places. So no, he doesn't have enough money. Alternatively, you could have worked out 20. And 20% is £25.80. And then done 129 minus £25.80. We get the same answer. So A and B are different prime numbers less than 20. I'm going to start by listing the prime numbers less than 20. So that's 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17 and 19. And we want find a value for A and B so that A plus B is a square number. So we want 1 or 4 or 9 or 16. Well, I can see 16 would come from 5 and 11. 9 would have come from 7 and 2. And there's lots of different combinations in here that would give you a square number. So a regular polygon has an interior angle of 150 degrees. Remember what I told you about these? Always start by working out the exterior angle, and the interior plus the exterior are on a straight line. So 180 take away 150 is 30 degrees. And what that means is if we have a polygon, this angle here on the outside is 30 degrees. The number of sides then is 360, because that's what the exteriors add to, divided by 30, which is 12. So 2 of these polygons are placed edge to edge. What regular shape would fit exactly in the space touching the edges? Well, we're going to have 2 exterior angles. So that's 30 times 2, which is 60 degrees, and it's regular. So we want a shape which is regular and has angles of 60 degrees, and that's an equilateral triangle. A lot of you got triangle, but miss the fact that it's equilateral. And look here, there were 2 marks. Formula for area of a circle is pi times r squared. I've got to be careful here. We have the diameter, we don't have the radius. So if we take the diameter and we'll divide it by 2, we get a radius of 6.5. And if we do pi times 6.5 squared, we get that the area is 132.7. We have that the diameter is 13. That means that this side of the square is 13. So the area of the square will be 13 times 13, which is 169. So the shaded area will be 169 take away 132.7. 36.3. Okay, when we're solving the equation one step at a time, so the first thing we're going to do is the minus 3. So 4y over 5 equals 9 plus 3, which is 12. Second thing we're going to get rid of is the 5. So it will be 12 times 5. So 4y is 60, which means y is 60 divided by 4, which is 15. We're asked in question 13 to work out a fall. So we've gone from 123 to 69.4. So the first thing we've got to work out is what we have decreased by. And that is 53.6. and we want to work out the percentage. So it's 53.6 divided by 123 multiplied by 100. Fraction multiplied by 100 gives us a percentage, and the answer here is 43.6%. To solve two simultaneous equations, we need the numbers in front to be the same. There's two ways to do this. We could either multiply the top by 4 and the bottom by 5, or multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 2. I'm going to do it by multiplying by 3 and 2. 3 5s are 15, 3 2s are 6, 3 times 19 is 57. 2 4s are 8, 2 times minus 3 is minus 6, and 2 times 29 is 58. And then to solve these, because the signs are different, we add 15 plus 8 is 23, and 57 plus 58 is 115. So x is 115 divided by 23, which is 5. To work out y, we then do 5 times x plus 2y is 19. So 25 plus 2y is 19. 2y is minus 6 and y is minus 3. So to factorise, we're looking for common factors. What goes into both 14 and 35? That's 7. 7 times 2 and 7 times minus 5. What goes into both x squared and x? Well, that's x. And x times x gives us x squared, and x times 1 will give us x. And then we have y, which has no common factor. So we have 7x upon 2xy minus 5. So if we draw out the right angle triangle, the base is 10 and the slant is 16, and we've been asked to work out AB. Square of the hypotenuse, which is always opposite the right angle, equals the sum of the squares of the other two sides. That means that x squared is 16 squared minus 10 squared. And 16 squared minus 10 squared is 156, and the square root of 156 is 12.5. So the length of the side is 12.5. Volume of the prism, we've got to work out the cross-sectional area. So if we take our triangle, we have 10 and 12.5. So it's half the base times the height, which gives us a cross-sectional area of 62.5, and then our volume is the cross-sectional area times the length, so that's times 30, and that gives us a volume of 1,875. So John thinks of a number, let's call that number x. He multiplies it by 9, so 9x, and then he subtracts 4. And his answer is 3 times what he started with. So if we bring the 3, we get 9x minus 3x equals 4. 6x equals 4. X equals 4 over 6, which is 2 over 3. So 30 divided by 2 is 15, divided by 3 is 5, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So the product of our prime factors is 2 times 3 times 5. 22 is 2 times 11. So we have 30 and 22. What we're interested in is the lowest common multiple. So 2 goes into both of these. So the lowest common multiple is 2 times 15 times 11. So that's 30 times 11. 330, and that's 330 minutes, which is 5.5 hours. So 8 AM, 5.5 hours later, it's 1:30 PM. So let's start off with the triangle on the left. We have 5 and 64.2. We want to work out the opposite. So if we write out our SOHCAHTOA, We have the opposite and the hypotenuse, so we're going to be using sine, and we want to work out the opposite. So if we cover that up, it leaves us with O is S times H. So we want the sine of 64.2 times 5. Which gives us 4.5. If we then take the right-hand triangle, we have 6.3. We have an angle to work out, and we have 4.5. This is opposite the angle, and this is adjacent, so we're going to be using tan. And the tan of the angle is the opposite divided by the adjacent. So the angle is the inverse tan. Which gives us 35.5 degrees. Dealing with fractions, we need everything to have the same denominator. So I'm going to multiply the first fraction. I'm going to make it 12. So I multiply the top by 3. To make the second fraction 12, we multiply the top by 4. And then we have 60 over 12. As soon as they all have the same denominator, we can ignore those and just deal with the numerators. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 3s are 9, 4 times x minus 4. 6 plus 4 gives us 10x, and 9 take away 4 is 5. So 10x is 55, x is 5.5. If we've increased volume by 32%, that means we have 132%. We work out 1% by dividing 6,864 by 132, which is 52, which means 100% is 5,200. Writing in standard form, when it's small, if we count the zeros, there's 5 of them, so it's 4.73 times 10 to the power minus 5. The 12 means 12 zeros, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Can't deal with indices when we have 2 1/4, so we'll rewrite that as 9 over 4. Can't deal with 1 1/2, so we have to write it as a top-heavy fraction. If we start with the minus sign, that tells us to invert the fraction. If we then take the half, that tells us to square root. And the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 9 is 3. And finally, this tells us to do 2/3 times 2/3 times 2/3, which is 8 over 27.